howdy. Today is the video that I have been most eagerly wanting to do. I've been really excited for this one. This is going to be the best video of all time to ever exist, especially on my channel specifically. And this is a Wisp build. This is the Wisp Max Investment build. More specifically, this is the Wisp Soulgate Max Investment build. Because you know what? This is the coolest ability in the game, and if you disagree, you're wrong. Now, most people subsume it off because they say, you know, why would I use that when it's due to water? But no. It is what we want to use. So that is the whole purpose of this build today. Let us go straight into it. Now, Wisp is a frame that most people are probably fairly familiar with. She's very strong, a very good support frame that lots of people use. You'll find it very difficult at times to find a match where you don't have a Wisp as a teammate. Her passive makes it so that while she's in the air, she is invisible, so that's interesting, actually pretty decent. Her first makes reservoirs, they're little motes that buff you. The duration of the motes themselves are infinite. You can have a max of 6 of them out at once, and the buff does stay on you for a duration after you exit the moat. The base duration, I believe, is 30 seconds for the buff after you leave the moat. You have Vitality Mote, which gives you max health and HP per second. Haste Mote, which gives you movement speed, which is different than sprint speed, and also fire rate / melee attack speed. And then you have the Shock Mote, which shocks enemies within the nearby radius. And these can be picked up by your teammates as well. We have Will-O-Wisp, where you send out a little copy of yourself that flies forward, and if you recast the ability, you teleport to it. And teleporting to it gives you immediate iframes, which is very, very useful. Third is her Breach Surge, which is also her helmet ability. You basically do a weird freaking backflip sort of thing in the air with your flying ability, and then you send out a bunch of little radiation sparks everywhere. They attach themselves to enemies' faces. Shooting it will then create more of those that go out and do a bunch of damage based off how much damage you dealt when you hit the spark. It has a damage multiplier of 2x at base, I believe, and it's really freaking strong. Also, if you cast Breach Surge while you have Will-O-Wisp out, it'll create one on your location and the location of the Wisp. And if you cast Breach Surge while looking at reservoirs, you will teleport to the reservoir and cast a Breach Surge. And when you do so, it makes it have, I think, double the range. It costs like half the energy or something like that. I never really do that, but it's an interesting gimmick. And then finally, the ability of the day, which is Soulgates. We have to switch back to the Soulgate build over here. Open a portal to the sun to irradiate enemies with a devastating beam of pure solar plasma. Hold fire to double damage at the cost of increased energy consumption. For the duration of attack, enemies damaged by Soulgate are increasingly more vulnerable. Now, it has okay base damage at, I think it's 4,000, 3,500, something like that. Oh yeah, show base stats. I forgot that thing. Oh, no, sorry, 1,500. It deals solar or heat and radiation damage, and it has a guaranteed status proc, which is once every seconds. That's kind of doo-doo. Consumes 12 energy per second and is then doubled if you hold down the fire button to double the damage and double the energy drain, right? That puts it at 24. It has a range of 40 meters, and it does have infinite punch through, or at least against enemies. It cannot punch through walls, but it can pierce enemies infinitely. Now, the damage on its own is quite lackluster, to be perfectly honest. Like, it's something. So if we come here and we do this, and this is with a couple Archon shards as well, so keep that in mind. Here's the damage at base. Yeah, I think that says all it needs to. Not great, so we gotta heavily invest to make it snazzier. Now, something I didn't show just there, and I haven't mentioned yet, is that if you have reservoir motes down, they actually buff Soulgates when you have the buffs from the motes, which is very, very snazzy. And one of the tips actually tells you what it does, okay? Vitality and Shock modes increase its damage by 25%, and Haste mode adds a corrosive stats effect. So if you have all three modes, you then have corrosive heat and radiation on the Soulgates, as well as a 50% damage increase. So that's definitely something we want to do. Now, if you've been paying attention, then you'll notice that we have heat, which is very important because we can use Archon Vitality, but also radiation, which orange Archon shards have an effect where you get 15% more ability damage on enemies affected by radiation. We have electric from our electric motes. We have purple shards, which can give us 15% ability damage on enemies affected by electricity. And we have corrosive on our 4 because of the motes, which also has the same effect but with corrosive. Now, I don't actually know how these stack. I am really hopeful and thinking it is multiplicative. I am just now remembering I forgot to test that before recording this, but I'm too lazy to do it now. I'm going to assume / hope that it's multiplicative. If it's not, it's still worth doing this, right? Altogether, if it is not multiplicative, that's still 75% damage increase. And if it is multiplicative, then you would multiply it by 1.3, then times 1.3 again, because we have these two, and then times 1.15, which would end up being probably around double or something like that. I don't know. Can't do the math off the top of my head right now. So this is a pretty decent damage increase. Also, we are going to want lots of strength because it will increase the damage from our soul gate. On top of that, we have subsumed roar over our 2. Roar gives a huge damage buff to both your weapons and your abilities, and it double dips on DOTs, meaning it will double dip on the heat effect from Soulgate. We also have Archon Vitality, which gives us a second heat proc for every heat proc from an ability, meaning double the damage from our heat procs from Soulgates. And because our strength is so high, without having other strength sources built up, we already should be having around a 4x damage increase to the heat procs because of Roar. Corrosive Projection, so we strip more armor for more damage. Prime Sure-Footed, which is actually completely replaceable because you're immune to knockdown while you're in Soulgate. So you can really run whatever you want here. I just like this for if I'm not in Soulgate running around. Transient Fortitude for big strength. We do lose duration though. Prime Flow for more energy max. Equilibrium, so we have energy economy because this will get real expensive. We're going to be draining about 30 energy per second. Blind Rage, which nukes our efficiency, gives us big strength. Augur Secrets, so we get more ability strength. Umbral Intensify for more ability strength, and Primed Continuity for duration, because that makes it so we don't drain energy quite as fast with Soulgate, and it also lets Roar last longer, and the buffs from our motes last longer without having to go back into them. Molt Augmented, which builds up to a 60% strength increase, which is very huge since it will double dip on our damage increase because it affects Soulgate and Roar. Molt Efficiency, because it gives us extra duration so that, again, our mote buff and Roar lasts longer, and then also it costs a little less energy for Soulgate. Breach Surge here, if you throw Breach Surge out, every single attack from Soulgate will actually proc Breach Surge, which is a unique interaction, but it's not entirely needed most of the time, and it's a little more inconvenient to have to use this and then go back to your 4 all the time, because we're going to use our Roar, get the buffs, and then go into our 4. Whenever our 4 runs out, we go back and cast Roar and then re-enter. Now, other than that, we are going to have specific weapons and mechanics. We're going to want your primary is completely up to you. I don't really know of anything that would help here. I guess you could run Miter to destroy nullifier bubbles. That could be useful, I suppose. So might as well put that on now. Otherwise, just use whatever you want. But our secondary is very important. Grimoire. Now, we have Grimoire here because we want Vominification, which is going to give us another 60% strength increase. So we activate this before we activate our other abilities, because our second ability, Roar, our helmet, as well as our fourth ability, Soulgate, both snapshot. So we want to get this and then activate our fourth ability, or third and fourth ability. Other than that, the build is entirely up to you. I have it so it can actually kill stuff, because our Exilus makes it so we get shield recharge on ourselves and teammates when we kill stuff. So that's kind of nice. And secondary Fortifier to get a bit of overguard. Now, how the Vominification works is the Alt Fire will give you a buff of strength, 4% for every enemy tagged for 15 seconds, right? Or 20 seconds, I mean. It stacks up to 15 times. Now, this builds up passively. It builds up when you pick up ammo, and it builds up when you pick up. It's pretty easy to build it up, just Alt Fire, and there we go, max. Not defeated. The melee is another thing that's up to you. I have Boltus because it can pull enemies in, so that when we're not in our fort, I can just immediately pull everything in, and then Grimoire just to make sure I get on my stacks easily, and it also gives parkour velocity, which is nice. Other than that, run whatever melee is like a stat stick for parkour velocity, wherever you want. Like Kratos could work here. Maturite, very important. You really want Maturite here because it will give us casting speed, which we don't have in the build otherwise. This makes it feel much better. And we also have Sling Strength, which gives us 40% more ability strength when we do a chain sling. That's more strength that we can snapshot. So Grimoire and Maturite together, that's already 100% extra strength. And then we're also getting the 60% once we build up Molt Augmented, which is going to put us at a whopping 482% ability strength. After that, our companion is going to be Nautilus Prime, because it pulls enemies in, and grouping enemies makes it a lot easier to kill them with our 4th ability. This is a pretty standard Nautilus build. We have Cord in here, so it sucks stuff in. Manifold Bond, so it does it all the time. Vacuum, pull stuff in. Guardian helps us stay alive. Duplex Bond and Assault Mode, because we're also going to be priming with Hellstrom on this. We have Accelerated Deflection, so it doesn't die as fast. Same for Calculated Redirection, so it has a bigger shield gate. Prime Regen for the same thing. And Synth Deconstruct for lots of health orbs to help our energy, because we have Equilibrium. Our weapon, like I said, is Hellstrom, and this is a very interesting Hellstrom Primer build. This is a Heat Inherit Hellstrom Primer build, because we're using Heat on our 4th ability, but we can't really make use of Heat Inherit normally because we can't prime stuff, go into our 4, kill them, exit, prime stuff, repeat. That's going to be a really, really big pain in the ass, and it's not a playstyle that anybody's going to want to do. So instead, we prime with our companion. We have Malignant Force and Rhyme Rounds, so we get Viral, multi-shot from Split Chamber, Vile Acceleration for more attack speed or fire rate, Speed Trigger for more fire rate, and then Hellfire plus Wildfire plus Thermite rounds to get a very huge amount of damage bonus for our Heat Inherit. That puts us at 210% for Heat Inherit. That is going to give us a large damage increase. Now, all together, this is going to end up being quite snazzy. So let us go ahead and get everything going. We're going to come over here. It's going to suck everything in. Cast this. Make sure you get your chain sling up. This is a little annoying because I haven't fixed my controller settings and stuff yet, so don't worry about that. And then we alt fire here. Oh, wait, actually, first I'm going to want to put my motes down, right? Just to be safe. So we're going to put our motes down. I also forgot to grab energy. I'm really fumbling this really hard right now. Don't worry about it. Chain sling again to make sure that's active. Yes, it is. And now we go Grimoire. Shabam. Now we activate Roar. You can see it's already, our companion's already killing them by itself. Come back down here. Simulates. I'm probably going to have one of my buffs run out. Oh, no, we're good. Yes! The power of the sun in the palm of my hand. And that was without Breach Surge. Now, you can't even do this without Companion. Of course, it's going to be less effective, but if we were to, say, take off Nautilus, then we don't have the grouping. We are still going to want some level of Viral in the mix, so I might as well slap on Pans of Philo, because that is quite important, but I don't want to suck them in because that makes setting everything up a little bit annoying. But I am going to use Breach Surge now. So now we just have Viral, no Heat Inherit. Simulate these enemies. Come back up, and we got to put our motes down. Always make sure you have the motes down. Like so. Now we go Ya-Yi, Ya-Yi. Get that buff right there. We have it right. Yes, I'm not blind, I swear. Cast that. Come back over here. Kill them. Simulate. Roar. Breach Surge. And then we cast our 4. And now we just kill them all. You can see it does plenty of damage, even without the companion, but the companion is still quite important. Now, you have two options here on the build with what you want to do using your helmet over your 2 or your 3. Now, I personally don't like having to cast Breach Surge as often, but you will get more damage, significantly more damage, if you use Breach Surge. But you also lack survivability, right? We get HP for some level of tanking, but we're still not going to be that tanky, and we're not immune during our 4, and we can't like dodge or parkour or anything. So you are quite vulnerable to dying. But if you decide to get rid of Breach Surge for Roar instead of your 2, Will-O-Wisp will still be there, and you can use the Wisp to teleport to get around faster while you are in your Breach Surge, or sorry, Soul Gates. Like, you can cast it, kill stuff, and teleport to it, and you also get the iframe still while in Soul Gate. So you either go for mobility and survivability, or you get rid of your 2 and keep your 3 for maximum damage output. I have the 3rd right now instead, but I personally prefer the Wisp for survivability because in this build we're already going to be doing a lot of damage and can kill everything mostly fine, so we don't really need the extra damage. Other than that, there's not really anything else, so let's go ahead and get into a solo Netracell. I'll see you in the Netracell. Big well. Hello, we have entered the Netracell and we are in the big, powerful circle of weird stuff. Got to get a bit of energy. We did get a little unfortunate because one of the debuffs we have is less energy, or not less energy, we lose energy per second with enemies nearby. So that is going to be a bit of a pain. So I'm probably going to need to kill stuff with my weapon for a little bit before I can actually, you know, have enough energy to use our abilities, which is a little annoying because the whole point of this is to show the power of the sun, but not really much I can do about it unless I had like a voracious metastasis Hildren here to power me up, and I unfortunately do not. Maybe I should start trying to find somebody to help me with these to make it a little easier at times. Alright, make sure we get that going. Pull all these enemies in. That, well, that was a fail. I just freaking slammed when I meant to use my Grimoire heavy attack. There we go. Now we do that. Then we cast Roar, cast Breach Surge, and cast our 4. But we're already about to need to go to the next Netromite. Look at this. We just pulverized that man. This is quite beautiful. 200k in a single tick. We didn't get to like build up our heat stacks. I just got absolutely knocky-walkied out of that though. Ah, yes, see, here comes the problem I said from earlier. Survivability is a very, very big issue when you go with Breach Surge. We'll be fine here because I got Mad Riot. I can just last gasp as many times as I need, realistically. But if you're in a normal mission, it probably will become an issue, which is, again, why I highly recommend keeping Wisp, Will-O-Wisp over Breach Surge. It's just a lot more convenient to not die because, you know, when you're dead, you can't do damage. And when you can't do damage, you're not beating the mission. And we want to actually not be doo-doo water and not have our teammates say, yo dog, why you doo-doo water like that? Cast this, cast our Breach Surge again, and then go into our war. And you know what's extra funny about this? Is that we're actually not just doing damage with our Soul Gates. Our companion actually does some pretty hefty amount of damage as well. So we have big damage. Because, I mean, you saw earlier in the simulacrum, right? Or like on the simulated, like just skip to this part. Is before we had even cast our Soul Gate, at one point we had killed an entire group of enemies just with our companion. These things right here are really annoying, the little jade things, because we aren't fast enough to parkour away from them when we are in our 4th ability, so you're gonna want to be real careful when you see those guys. Try not to get pulverized by them. I think that's actually what killed me earlier, though I could be wrong. And then see, when your roar runs out, just make sure you do the chain thing. Get the extra ability strength from your Grimoire, which is pretty easy to do. And then just go back into your abilities. on paper, it sounds a little annoying to do all of that, but in practice, it's actually really, really easy. Dang, these Jade Xmas keep seeing me. I just had a thought. I've never tried to shoot the Jade Xmas green light bulbs with the Soul Gate. I wonder if it actually does good damage, or if it can even target them. Yes. Again, it would be so much easier if we had Will-O-Wisp. But luckily, since this is a Mad-Eye sort of build anyways, we've got plenty of damage if you have Last Gasp unlocked. If you don't, please, for the love of Soul Gate, I don't know, for the love of Dami Mommy Hildren, go unlock Last Gasp. It makes life so much easier, because then you can just resurrect yourself. And then, you know, your teammates don't have to always worry about you, and you don't have to worry about your teammates being random blueberries that don't know how to resurrect somebody. It's just very, very nice. Dumb ass Netromite, get out of my fucking town right now. Now, we are going to want to get our strength back up a bit before we cast our 4, and now we're good. Always watch that roar countdown, though. Because if your roar goes down, you're going to lose a lot of your damage. Because without any of our extra strength, it's already a 4x damage increase. So once we get our extra strength, it's going to end up being probably around like 6x if I had to guess. Just random guesstimating. And that's a pretty big damage increase that you're going to want to make sure you have it as often as possible. Look at that. With a roar, we're actually able to do big damage with our Grimoire's alt fire as well. Because, I mean, we have roar at, you know, almost 500% strength. So, really, more than just our Wisps, 4 is going to be doing big damage. Again, try to stay out of those green light bulbs. Dang, I keep forgetting to try to shoot the green light bulbs to see if my 4 can actually wacky them. I really enjoy this ability. It is so satisfying. The sounds it makes in the power fantasy, like, think about it, you're literally creating a portal to the sun to then kill your enemies with. If that's not awesome, I don't know what is. And this just makes it actually viable. Look at that. Everything died. We could even melt the Necromechs here with that. That's saying something. Not a lot of stuff can melt Necromechs so easily. So, I definitely recommend trying this build out. It is a bit high investment. I mean, you're going to want those Archon shards. They do make a pretty big difference in my testing. And you are going to want the Grimoire and Mad-Eye and stuff, but there's higher investment builds, right, that end up giving you less value or entertainment than this. So it's very, very much worth it if you bother trying this out. Now, I know a lot of people already have Wisp with Archon shards and not the ones that we have here, so you might end up wanting a second Wisp built for Soul Gate, built for Soul Gate like this, rather than just screwing up your normal Wisps build. But for me personally, I don't care about playing normal Wisp. I just play Soul Gate Wisp because it's fun. And, you know, if you're not playing to have fun, then why are you playing at all? That's the most important part, is having fun. This is the kind of build I wanted to do more. I've been getting a little bored with my max investment videos in general. I kind of started to fall into the stale sort of just pillage spam and everything, but this, I enjoyed making this. I really enjoyed making this. I enjoy playing this build. So if you like the video, leave a like, subscribe. Adios.